Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Veggie Girlfriend, who says, me 25 female, with my boyfriend 23 male, for 3 years. He can't accept that I'm vegetarian. And I think he's trying to trick me into eating meat. And before we do get into this story, I do want to give you a couple of warnings that there is domestic violence, physical assault, abuse, and obsessive behavior as well. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. Me and my boyfriend have been together for 3 years and have lived together for 1 year. I've been a vegetarian since I was 11 years old through my own choice. No one else in my family is veggie. My boyfriend eats meat, although my dream, ideal partner probably would be a vegetarian. I view this as a Dan Savage price of admission for an otherwise great guy. Usually we cook veggie meals and he adds meat to them. If he wants a meal where that doesn't work, we just cook our own things and eat them together. The cooking works out to be about 50-50, and so does the cleaning. So I don't think the problem is with that. Eats meat most days. I have no problem with meat in the flat. I won't cook it, that's all, because it grosses me out. Meat pizzas and stuff like that I don't mind, but nothing that involves really touching the meat. Recently he's been really obsessed with my vegetarianism in a way he never had before. He always made stupid jokes, but that's a better reaction than a lot of people. He's proper grilled me about it about 4 times in the past fortnight. Anyone who's been veggie knows how annoying those constant conversations are. He started genuinely saying that it's stupid, unhealthy, hipster, all that stuff. I've shown him the studies saying vegetarians usually live longer, that a veggie and even vegan diet is accepted unanimously by dietitians as just as healthy as a meat one. He just doesn't accept it. He has a far worse diet than I do. I don't snack, don't eat fast food, don't have sugary drinks, and he does all the time. We're both slim, however. He's been asking if I'd ever quit a lot too. I'd like to point out that I never bring up my vegetarianism up in a conversation because usually people try to lecture you. Whenever we talk about it, he brings it up. Now, there's been a handful of times in the past few weeks when he'll cook a meal for us and I'll notice that it's not vegetarian. Some examples. He made spag bowl saying it was corn when it just obviously wasn't. They don't look the same. When I pointed this out, he just laughed and said it was a brain fart and he forgot. Which okay, whatever. I guess that could happen. He gave me a sandwich with ham on it. Another mistake, apparently, since he was making us both them and just put the ham on both, despite this never having been a problem before. He made himself a bacon butty and asked if I wanted an egg one. I say yes, and when I walk into the kitchen, he's using the same pan that he used for bacon. He said he didn't know this was a problem when he 100% did, because he always swapped pans before this. And it's not about the washing up, because when he cooks, I wash up and the other way around. He made some chicken enchiladas and told me that they were veggie. Luckily, I saw the chicken when I cut it in half. Same excuses, an honest mistake. I thus far haven't accidentally eaten any meat. I've been cooking for myself for the past week, but he keeps offering to cook for both of us. Am I just being paranoid? The idea of him sneaking meat into my food seems crazy, but it really seems like he is. Why would he even bother to do that? LDR, boyfriend has become aggressive towards my vegetarianism, and I think he's trying to sneak meat into my food. Now, you've been together for some time, and it hasn't been a problem before. This just feels completely intentional that he's doing it. I don't see how you can make a mistake like that after you've been together for some time, etc, etc. First couple of weeks of dating, maybe, right? I'm not sure what the excuse is going to be, why he's doing this. I'm putting it down to controlling behavior at the moment, but I really don't know. And I've seen stuff like this in the past about people not being able to accept someone else being vegetarian. I don't really understand the mindsets. Like, why does this affect you in any way, really? But a commenter says to OP, I think you're using the word sneak incorrectly. This douche knows full well what he's doing, and you should probably have some serious second thoughts about him and his actions. Mistake my ass. OP says, I'm glad people are agreeing with me. I didn't think it could be in any way a mistake either, but he insists that they are. Won't change his story at all. Another commenter says, have you talked to him about the fact that he's been incredibly disrespectful towards you and your moral choices? OP says, I question him after every incident, and I've asked him separately as well. I was like, you've been making a lot of these mistakes. Want to talk about my vegetarianism? Are you confused about it? Resentful? He insisted and insisted that every single time it was a mistake, then huffed off to bed. Cat Romance says to OP, it does sound like he's setting you up for a, did you like what I made you for dinner? Ha! It had meat in it, sucker! Situation. These are no honest mistakes. You two have lived and eaten together for quite some time now, and to suddenly be making mistakes like this is ridiculous. He's definitely trying to get you to eat meat. I think you need to have a serious talk with him. Tell him that you know he's trying to sneak you meat. There's no way too many coincidences for these to be accidents anymore. Tell him that if you ever suspect or discover that he has fed you meat, you will break up with him on the spot. At least tell him that if that's how you feel. For me, it will be a total breach of trust. Ask him what his deal is with your being a vegetarian. Is a friend giving him shit? Did he read something that made him worried? Is he concerned about what you two will feed your future children? There's something that's got the fire going under his feet. You need to figure out what it is. Another user says someone has gotten in his ear. People don't just change overnight. I'm not even addressing his disrespectful behavior because it's so obviously disrespectful. Just the fact he's suddenly changed. Has he changed jobs, departments, gym, taken up CrossFit recently? Has an old friend moved back in town? Because if you can work out where he's getting this from, you can attack it at its root source. If it's CrossFit, you can point out the number of vegetarian paleo bloggers out there. If it's a new colleague or an old friend, you can point out their opinion should not take precedence over your health, because at this point, eating meat will make you very sick, or your ethical stance. It also sounds very passive-aggressive. Also, if he's almost embarrassed about his new position on your vegetarianism. I don't know if that makes sense. Is it possible that someone like his mum or dad has been at him? Are you about to upgrade your relationship, or have you done so recently? And he has a sister or his mum in his ear about, ooh, are you going to raise your kids veggie? Because you know that will kill them. Honestly, dig till you find the source of this, and then reason with him from that perspective. And one more comment from Here Kitty, quotes OP saying, am I just being paranoid? And then they say, no one randomly forgets that vegetarians don't eat ham sandwiches, especially a person you've been with for this long. You need to have a serious talk with about respecting your boundaries and beliefs, that your diet is your own and he needs to get over it. If he can't do that, you may have to just reconsider this relationship. Given that he had no problem with it before, I guess someone he knows has been a bug in his ear. Random little off-topic thing here. When anyone ever mentions like a bug being in someone's ear, I always think of the SpongeBob episode, the musical doodle. Listen again to the musical doodle. Do 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 do. I'm going off anyway. OP does update the post and says, so after posting, I stuck to only eating food I'd made, and my boyfriend got more and more antsy about cooking for me. I sat him down the next day and asked him the same stuff. If he had a problem with my vegetarianism, why was he trying to contaminate my food? Since I asked why and not if, he blew up, demanding to know why I didn't trust him, how I could accuse him of this. He also kept trying to get me to explain why I'm veggie in the first place. But he knows this well, so I didn't let him derail the conversation. Eventually, after the most frustrating circular argument ever, he stormed off to our bedroom. We didn't speak that night or the morning. When I got home the next day, he'd actually gone and cooked an entire chicken for us. He asked me if I'd eat it. It was so surreal. Him stood at the kitchen counter with his cooked chicken, asking me to eat it when he's never known me to eat meat, as if we haven't been arguing about this at all. I didn't even respond. I shouldered my way past him to the fridge, which was a massive mistake. I guess he went a little nuts. I can't really believe this happened, but he grabbed me by my hair at the back of my head and with another hand tried to force chicken into my mouth. I'm still shocked by this. It was terrifying. He was much stronger than me. He didn't succeed, and after some moments of me struggling, he let go. He just stood there, looking defeated, while I literally ran out of the kitchen and got some stuff and went to my parents. I'm there now. It's been the better part of a week. He's agreed to move out, put up no fight for the flat or for us, which I wouldn't accept of course anyway. When we spoke on the phone to decide this, he sounded ashamed, quiet. I hope he's ashamed. I'll never know why he suddenly snapped about my vegetarianism, and frankly I don't care anymore. He's obviously just a wanker to do that anyway. This past month or so has been so different to the test of our relationship. It's crazy, but there's no coming back from this. I'm well shot of him. What an absolutely terrifying situation for OP to go through. Someone to change like that in such a short amount of time, and then to be physically abusive to OP as well. I'm so glad they got themselves out of that situation, because it did feel like, especially towards the end there, that things were escalating out of control. A lot of people in the comments saying that OP should report this to the police, and other people saying, it probably won't get them anywhere, etc. with this. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. Like I said, I'm glad that OP is out of that situation, and I hope that they continue to heal from this experience. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story does come with an update. It's from the True Off My Chest subreddit from Big Mouth Bad Karma, who says, "My boyfriend doesn't know. I will break up with him after his residency exam." And before we do get into this story, there is talk of alcoholism within the story, so as always, timestamps are down in the description. We've been together 3 years. Only in the last year his alcoholism has started to show. He's a mean drunk. Every time after he goes out to drink, he arrives home only to scream at me. He also got into drugs, so the arriving home is around 10 AM. After not hearing from him for half a day, the shouting finally became name calling. After giving him an ultimatum about his lifestyle choices and how they affect me, I was promised everything will change. No more nights turned into mornings, turned into evenings, and no more leaving me to go home alone, no more shouting, no more drugs, no more secrets, as where he is or with whom. But he doesn't know I know he lied every weekend when he told me he is in bed, sleeping. He doesn't know I know every girl he gave his Insta to. I know he begged his friend to lie to me. He doesn't know that as soon as he comes home from his residency exam, I'll have my stuff packed and ready to leave, 1 week from today. He doesn't know that while he is talking about us buying a house together and getting married, I cry because of how stupid he was, not because I am happy. He's currently singing in the other room, making plans for how we'll celebrate if he passed the exam. And I guess myself and a lot of comments were sort of like a bit confused and like, why are you staying there now? Why didn't you just get out of the apartment and leave? Obviously, I don't know the reason why, so it's a genuine question. Because Domesticated Shrimp says, could you explain the logic behind not leaving ASAP? I just genuinely wanted to understand your feelings better. Opie says, I'm in the field, so I know how hard it is. I genuinely want him to pass and have a good life, just not with me in it. Not a Stegosaur says, I recommend packing your stuff and moving out while he is gone. And if you really want to give him closure, ask to meet somewhere in public. Not a bar, but like a cafe. And just let him know that you're leaving him and all your stuff is moved out. Don't risk him possibly getting violent. Autumn Prayer says, that's a really hard choice to make, but it sounds like an overdue decision. He is not stable and he shows no sign of changing. Buying a house with him would be a huge mistake. Quotes OP again saying, as soon as he comes home from after his residency exam, I will have my stuff packed and ready to leave, and then says, you may want to rethink this part. He's shown himself to be volatile. Coming home from a highly stressful exam to see you ready to leave may result in an explosive reaction. The best case scenario is an ugly, unpleasant, loud scene. The worst case scenario is that there is a risk of violence. Leave him while he is at the exam. Don't be waiting for him at home. Move out while he's gone. If you feel you owe him closure, that's your choice, but do so in a way that is actually safe. Meet him in public only. Have friends nearby. Call him on the phone, but don't end the relationship with a volatile person in private, especially in a way that will invite conflict. Your current plan puts you at risk unnecessarily. And there was a lot of similar advice in the comments, like don't tell him in person. If you're going to, do so in a public place. Don't be waiting after the exam because, you're doing it in private. It is potentially not safe for you. And I think it was all top advice, really. He might not explode. There might not be a big reaction or anything like that, but there is that risk. And like that last comment said, you don't need to do it in that way when you can do it in a much safer way, really. But OP did update the post and says, I did break up with him. Thank you all for liking and commenting. I did read each and every comment of yours, and it was a relief going through this week. A few clarifications that may have sparked confusion. I'm not from the US. English is not my first language, so when I googled residency exam, it seemed like what I was referring to. The exam a med student takes to start working in a hospital. So, referring to those that told me to tell his boss. He doesn't have one. For those who told me to report to the board. There isn't a board. He took several admission tests that verify him APT psychology and physically. He passed all those tests. I cannot go against several doctors' approval with just my word. I went to the hospital and asked what I have to do to prove he's a danger. They told me that I would need hard proof that I cannot get. The hospital reassured me that there are checkups and they will keep an eye on him. I also told his parents and his friends the real reason we broke up. Now, the breakup. It did not go violently. I did what was suggested and I met him in a public place after his exam. At first he acted very weird, got up and left just to quickly come back saying he's sorry, but he doesn't want to feel this pain. We had a very civil talk where I told him how alone he made me feel every time we would go out and come back only at 12 AM. I told him that he is not the person I would want to raise my children with. I told him how volatile he is and how even though he never hurt anybody, I don't want to be the first one. His reaction was to cry and beg, telling me I am the love of his life and he will get help. He pledged me he will never meet up with those friends again, that he never cheated on me, that he will go to therapy. It was a long breakup. Since then, he bought me tickets to Venice for my work milestone, which is in 2 months, saying that this is for me and if I want, maybe for us. He brought me flowers for Valentine's and asked if we could meet. I said no, and I said I will block him if he goes on like this. I'm incredibly sad because my family won't talk to me, saying I am selfish for not helping them their emotional needs, even now, and saying I should take him back. I feel so sorry for the both of us. What drugs and alcohol can turn you into. So in the comments, Jonas Noble says block him anyway, and I hope you didn't accept his gifts and give him false hope. Hope he says I didn't. I told him absolutely no to maintaining contact, to going out, to the flowers or to Venice and any other things he might think of. Little Choco Chip says good for you OP. It's so hard when your own family doesn't support your decisions, but future you will be so happy that you made this choice. He sounds like a dumpster fire and should fix himself before getting into a relationship with anyone. OP says yeah, it certainly isn't easy. I had them screaming at me through the phone. I stopped responding and now they're screaming at me through my door. I think the hardest part of this breakup is how let down I feel by my own family. It's amazing how week after week as I'm trying to change what's making me unhappy, I end up even more miserable. What is up with that family, man? Imagine your hypothetical child coming up to you and telling you that they're in a relationship like this, and then you say, oh, you need to stay with him, you can't break up with him, blah blah blah. That's absolutely horrific. Someone who needs support and love at this moment, you're turning them away, banging on their door, treating them like shit. It sounds OP's got some more decisions to be making in their future, especially in regards to their family, but as I always say, I know it's incredibly tough as well. And I wonder what the reason behind all this from the family is. Is it because, he's potentially going to be a doctor or something like that? He's going to be in some kind of respected profession. And I'm not saying OP should be with this person because absolutely they've done the right thing here to get themselves out of that situation. And I just think that the family's a bunch of assholes. But I do wish you the very best for the future, OP. And I hope you find some happiness and potentially get away from that family at the same time. At least break some contact with them because they are doing you absolutely no favors at the moment. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.